Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at lasers and LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Krister.
Hello.
Hello there, Krister. Are you ready to have a look at what's coming up next week?
I am so ready that I'm pre-ready.
Woo!
Freddy. I'm
Freddy,
ready.
you are Freddy. Yes. Let's go and see what's happening next week because there isn't much that happened this week, so we will go over that. And the biggest thing, though, is that next week they'll be releasing update 37.2.
Hooray!
Hooray! Now, what's going to be in 37.2? Well, they did confirm that this is going to include several tweaks to classes. And they have confirmed that they will have an update to the Forester event and that they have decided to set a new date for the retry on the Forester event on that lovely day of Friday the 13th.
Hooray! Uh-oh.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong there? The only thing I can imagine is that they have decided that with all the jinxes that are going on there, that they'd be unlucky for the jinxes.
Well, that's what you say. Don't they in the classic Showdown movie where they have the bad guy to get a good guy that's as bad as the bad guy to fight the bad guy? So you like to fight a curse, you probably need another curse, right? So the curses fight out and cancel each other out. And then you're curseless in LOTROs.
Okay, it's like in the Wheel of Time where they try to use two different evils to face each other. Actually, that's pretty much what happens in the Lord of the Rings, I guess, with Saruman and Sauron messing each other's plans up.
Exactly. I think if I'm not mistaken, the saying goes, "Two great evils make a right."
Two great evils make a right.
Maybe I'm getting it wrong.
Yes. I think a wrong belongs there somewhere. Yes. Now, what they have not confirmed nor denied is whether or not this update is going to include shanties.
I think you're starting to understand how I feel about shanties, and I think shanties are extremely dangerous. I've been an advocate of. I know that I'm an anti-goo, anti-filth looter. I don't believe in looting filth and goo off my opponents. It's kind of a stickler thing for me. So I'm also anti-shanty.
You're also
I'm an anti-shanty.
Anti-shanty. I don't know. It sounds like you have a female relative on.
Well, they do in the Pacific Northwest. We do have the Pirates Day up here, so maybe I do. Maybe I do have an anti-shanty.
Anti-shanty. Okay, it could be the name of a music performer in some sort of pirate-themed music group or something.
Well, that's terrifying to think about because I can't conceive of what anti-shanty music would be. Because that would probably be, maybe classical, maybe. Is that?
Okay, so what kind of music would be the opposite of shanty? I mean, I would almost think of something from the desert.
Well, and I think that if you resist shanties, you should be known as an anti-shantite.
Anti-shantite.
I have had far too much caffeine today. I'm just going to put that out there.
All right. Too much caffeine. I will take a note of that.
I see shanties everywhere.
Yes. If they do release shanties next week, then that means.
Right when you said that, I had the Clash of the Titans moment. Release the shanties.
Release the shanties.
End the world. Release the shanties.
End the world. Release the shanties, and so we have all this sea music pouring in like the ocean. Yes. I wonder if the Kraken dances to shanties.
I feel an art project coming on.
But anyway, next week we have 37.2, and they have neither confirmed nor denied the possibility of any shanty singing classes being released at that time. So we'll just have to see what happens come Tuesday or Wednesday when they have the release. Now, speaking of shanty type updates, Scenario went through a casual stroll through Outer Gondor, which means the second of the new areas that are going to be part of the release of the Corsairs of Umbar. And that area, Outer Gondor, includes a coastal region in the more southern parts and the more northerly parts. They have an area where they do a great deal of grain growing, and that's referred to as our breadbasket of Gondor. I notice that the breadbasket of Gondor is as far northwest in Gondor as you could possibly get.
Well, maybe that's let's see. Maybe that's further away from the sun, so like the baking times are, they're lengthened, and then the bread becomes something different.
Oh,
Maybe
well.
it like caramelizes stuff, or
Well,
maybe there's a conspiracy. I wonder if there's like a family in Gondor that's like trying to take over. They're consolidating all the agricultural.
maybe they're or maybe the area is the way it is because it's as far from Mordor as possible. Because it's all has to be the furthest point in Gondor from Mordor.
That kind of makes sense because you'd think that there's a lot of pollutants that was coming out of Mordor.
Right.
Probably just destroyed everything around it.
So maybe that's the thing is that it's just that you don't trust anything that's grown too close to Mordor. I guess.
Yeah.
That means the people in Nirn are going to have a lot of trouble selling their bread to Gondor in the future.
What does Nern bread taste like? Burning.
Yes. But anyway, we had those two areas, and next week they are going to be heading over to the Shield Isles for next Wednesday's casual stroll. And I think it's going to be difficult to casual stroll to the Shield Isles, considering the word Isles in their name. I guess you'll probably have to do a lot of swimming unless you have a ship or a boat.
Does LOTRO have like windsurfer boards? The boards with the sails on them? I don't know if they've advanced that technology. That would have been a heck of a thing to see. Instead of all the Oathbreakers pouring off of the ship, you have thousands of Oathbreakers sailing into those sailboards.
Aha.
Mordor really wouldn't have a clue what to do. What the heck is that?
I'm just trying to think of how all these Oathbreakers, because it seems to me that the Oathbreakers probably can't interact all that much with physical objects. So how do they guide the sailboards?
Well, there's I don't know if you know this, but there's Oathbreakers and then there's Oath Surfers. So the Oath Surfers, when they broke their oaths and transitioned into the Shadow Realm, they transitioned with their boards.
Okay.
I feel another art project coming on now.
Another art project, yes. Oath sailors. All right.
That's,
These weren't from the men of the mountain who broke their oaths. These were from the men of the Shield Isles that broke their oaths.
exactly. I love this.
Hmm. I'm sure they gave the Corsairs a great deal of trouble.
I would imagine fighting based on just seeing how they did them in the movie. It would be a total nightmare fighting an Oathbreaker army. First of all, just the absolute and utter shock and terror of this horde of undead people charging you. That'd be worth at least 2 cups of coffee right there. I mean, that's a
2 cups of coffee. Now, on top of this, in addition to it says news of what's happening next week and the casual stroll that's happening there, we also have the Return to Gondor soundtrack is now available on YouTube.
Hooray.
Yes, so if you want to listen to the lovely sounds of the music in that region, you now just head over to YouTube and listen to it. There, they do have a full playlist that includes all the tracks in there, and on the two of them, they also have alternate versions for them. And there's a total of about an hour and 15 minutes of music in there. That was a rough estimate. So that should be plenty of music in there. And we're trying to think about how much time would the entirety of LOTRO have in music over in there. They're
Yeah,
already,
I think there's an incredible body of music, which is
yeah,
just really cool to think of. And
yeah. If you wish
to think
to,
about how long the game's been around. You know, and the other thing I was thinking of, because I was in the Bree the Bree crafting hall, and I don't know if you crafted it all in there for any length of time in the early years, but there was like this background. If you turn the music off, there was like this background soundtrack where you heard people talking and stuff. And I remember just having listened to that loop over and over and over and over and over again. That I became very, very familiar with it. But I don't know if they've eliminated the sound completely or if it's different now. But it's not as noticeable these days. But I just remember like how many thousands of times have I listened to that loop? Sitting there crafting away.
yes, I remember there was one in DDO. There was a loop that did something similar. Where actually, I think it was added in later. That originally wasn't there, but then they decided they needed a new loop for the taverns. So each of the taverns have this one, and it goes, and they have all the rumblings of people in the background in there. And you could time how long the loop is because near the end of the loop, there's this very, very distinctive laugh in there. So I guess you could time the loop by going, okay, here's the laugh here. You wait till you hear the laugh again. Here's the laugh again.
Over and
And
over
over
and
and
over
over
and over.
again. Yes. Yes. So that's it for the news this week, though I suspect that we're going to have a little bit more news for you next week, which may or may not include shanties.
That's right.
Yes.
Can I make any promise on shanties going forward from this point?
Right. Now, I know that when Update 38 comes out, we can very definitely promise some shanties there.
It will, in fact, be shanty time.
You're right. It'll be shanty time. All right. Let's go into our store sales. What's on sale this week?
Well, the VIPs, of course, continue to receive their wonderful gold Hobbit gifts
Ooh,
through
shiny.
October 10th. And then you can find your shanty facts. Oh, I mean, shadow facts. You can get 30% off select Warsteeds and mounts, writing skills, select Warsteed cosmetics, movement speed buffs, and this is all through October 5th. And then the weekly coupon is for a free black steel key. Coupon code is 1KEY, and that is through October 5th as well.
One key to rule them all, and in the shanty bind them?
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
I'm sorry, if you think about it clearly, if Sauron had access to shanties in the First Age, there wouldn't be a third age. Sauron would just be in charge. A
Uh-huh.
shantyless Sauron is a defeated Sauron. A
Well,
Sauron with shanties is Lotro is Middle Earth's worst outcome.
well, I think yes. I think that was the problem is because Sauron was one of them who really didn't go about listening to the music of Ilúvatar, right?
Oh yeah, but that's opera. Who wants to hear some elf screaming for an hour?
Yes, but it must have turned him off of music completely or something like that.
That's what. This is awful. I'm going to enslave the world and destroy it.
Yes. All right, and that's it for our store sales. So let's go and have a little bit of reminiscing. thought we could reminisce about some instances, and any, if there were any instances that are particularly memorable to you.
Well, in thinking about this now too, I have several different ones, and one of my favorite, and I'm going to forget the name of this one. Fine, I'm so bad with these dungeon names. So this was the dungeon where you're ultimately fighting. Oh, it was the Shelob. It was the Shelob raid,
Okay.
and so we had. I did. First of all, did you run that one?
I have not yet run Shelob.
Okay, it is horrific. There's nothing else to say about it. It's really, really tough.
Oh,
The
okay.
bosses are really, really tough.
Okay, I thought that was Sans's review.
Yeah, she just hates them. I mean, on top of hating them, they're very tough here. But so we were having I mean we smashed our head against that instance for weeks. But we could get to the second boss, but we it was hit or miss to get past the second boss. And by the time you typically got past the second boss, it, we'd been playing for hours, and everybody was completely done. So we had this one point in that raid where we actually got through. I mean, we did the boss one the first time through. We did boss two the first time through, and we're getting ready for boss three. I'll never forget this. So we're all sitting there, and we're taking it's like a 5 minute, bio, and get your drinks refreshed before we go into the boss. And one of the tanks, I was the other tank, and so the main tank said, "Okay, you guys, I'll be right back." And right after she said that, her character suddenly lurches forward and starts running straight to the boss. And so, of course, I'm always on high alert, being the tank in a raid. So I'm like, it was just one of those moments where you're like, "Hey, what are you? That's what? Oh my God, you're running towards the boss." So what happened was she put her headset down,
Oh
and
no.
her headset hit the forward movement key, and so she had no idea what had happened until she got back to her computer. And she's like, "Why are you guys fighting?" It's like, "You ran in." But I love that. I don't. I just love those moments. It's. I don't know if this is like a tank perspective moment or whatnot, but because oftentimes if I'm dialed up to 11 when I'm tanking, because
Right.
I'm just paying attention. If somebody does something, you get too used to the hunters playing with their bows, and then suddenly, doing, an arrow flies out and hits somebody. So I just love that moment where you're like, "What is that person doing? What? Hey, what's that? Oh no, 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 no!" That moment you realize, okay, everything's going sideways here. So that was my reminiscence. What about you? Finally, what comes to mind?
Right. Well, there are several of them that I recall, but the biggest instance event that I remember had to do when I was, of course, I was playing on Pine Leaf, and my original version of Pine Leaf, and there eventually came the day that I was approaching my 1,000th skirmish. And when I say
Wow.
1,000 skirmish, I mean at level or higher. I was discounting any skirmishes run that were below my level. So I was approaching that, and I decided that I would hold that 1,000th skirmish on New Year's Day. So I scheduled that, but I decided no, I was not just going to do a solo skirmish for number 1,000 on Pine Leaf. No, 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 no. I decided to run number 1,000 in a raid Trouble with Tuckborough. And I don't think that prior to that time I had ever run raid Trouble in Tuckborough at level. So this is going to be my first time running Trouble in Tuckborough raid level and trying to get the people together in order to run this raid, since I was not someone who normally ran raids or anything like that. I mean, it was even less true of me running raids back then than it is today. So I tried to organize this thing, and we managed to get together. We managed to do the successful raid. And probably the biggest thing that helped that is the fact that while I did manage to get the people together into the raid, I was definitely not a raid leader. So, so that thing almost could have fallen apart by the fact that I was. But fortunately, there was someone there who was able to take over and actually organize us so that we could get through this, and we're able to successfully get all the way through. And we're going to get to the point where we get to the boss. Now, back in those days, I believe I'm trying to think what happened. Oh yes, actually, I think I did have flax already by then. Oh, what happened there is that one of the other characters, I think, had a protector. And back in those days, this I think was around level 65, 75 would have been the cap in those days. And back then, protectors did a very good job. So someone's protect because I was planning on tanking. That's right. I was going to be tanking the boss, while of course everybody else, when the lieutenants come in, everyone else would switch to the lieutenants, kill the lieutenant, and then come back, we'll mow down a little bit, then go back to the lieutenants, back and forth like that. And it turned out that someone's protector went and the grabbed the grabbed the boss from me, and I had absolutely no way, no matter what I did, I could not get the boss back. So the decision was, is all right, we'll leave the protector to tank the boss, and I'll just join everybody else in whittling down the lieutenants.
That's great, though. I love that the protector could do that. You know that. But yeah, I recall that I used to get shown up by a Lore Master Spare quite a bit before they got nerfed, and yeah, that was pretty humiliating. It's like, oh, the tank's really messing things up. Oh, here comes that bear. Oh, that lousy bear.
Yes, that's one of my most memorable instances in there. The protector taking over. So let's into our weekend gaming. Krister, what were you up to?
Well, Friday night we assembled our fellowship and we went into our favorite vermin infested instance and ran that through nice and smooth. We then went and decided. What was funny was last week we did our tier 10 or our tier 10 delving, where we literally coated the floor of that dungeon in our corpses, and so we had Looney with us, and his son played with us last week during the slaughter. So his son was looking forward to Looney experiencing the same thing this week when we did our delving, but we ended up doing it tier 7, and it was pretty much easy as pie. So we're gonna have to get revenge on Looney at some other point coming up here.
Is Looney Finn or
Finn? Yes, yeah.
Okay, okay. Because I know him as Finn because I do.
Do you ever think it's pretty funny, Pine Leaf, that I would never have been a secret agent or anything like that, but all of us have code names. Depending on where we are, it might be a different name too. So yeah, we call him Looney because we already had our Finn in our kin, and so saying Finn to both of them was getting complicated.
I guess that's true.
And so last night we actually had a really pleasant night. It was really nice. And then the other things I was getting up to, ESO released a new content, and so I've been checking that out and having fun. I'm really liking the Apocrypha area. The concept of it too is just cool. I just like their ideas.
It's been out for a few months, hasn't it?
It's been, yes, but I haven't been playing through it.
Okay.
So so I've started to adventure there, and I'm really liking what I've seen so far. And then just been playing some Starfield. I got this. I don't know if you played Starfield, but they have some pretty horrible bugs, and I got the bug. My character is level I think just 39, 40. I played through most of the content, and the bug totally destroyed my save game, and I had to start all over again. So that was pretty brutal.
Ouch.
Yeah, it hurt. Yeah, it was just one of those things where you're just like, oh my goodness. You mean I can't reload prior? No, everything's. it's all gone.
I think
And
I'll
then
wait a while before playing it then.
yeah, I was so at that point I didn't feel bad about cheating. I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to reload my character, give him 1,000,000 credits. He's going to have 6 Millennium Falcons strapped together. He's so yeah, so that was a little frustrating, but I've still been enjoying the game. I really liked Fallout 4 too. So it's very similar in feel and play. And then I've been continuing my efforts to train myself in doing Blender and getting a little better, doing basically an exercise a day, figuring things out, and really trying to push to see if I can make some animations in that program. I'm pretty excited to see if what can happen. So I had a pretty decent week. How about you? How
All
you?
right. Well, my original Pine Leaf had not yet done Chapter 1 of King's Condor, and I decided that I better get around to doing that, so I ran chapter the rest of Chapter 1 of King's Condor, finished that up, and then I went to Angmar, where I ran the New Card Doom thing, so I ran the Vile Apothecary and the Gardens, and there I learned that when they did the stat squish, they thankfully finally got around to make it so that the solo versions of those instances, the mobs actually had a lower morale than the duo and small fellowship ones, which was a problem that they had before. So apparently they fixed that little thing when they were adjusting the stats. Thank you. And of course, I did run the vermin also, and that went very, very well, since that seems to be the easier of the three. Even now, that seems to be the easiest of the three in solo. So they went reasonably well in there. Now, my lore master completed Volume 2 of the epic storyline, meaning we've managed to get to the Battle of the Tower and deal with Mazog and say farewell to an axe. Then on Friday Night Fights, we actually had a small group this week, because 4 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, no, actually 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago, we had enough 140s in both of them to have a full raid. Then last week, we only had enough 140s around for a small fellowship. Actually, no, we did actually scrape together a full fellowship, then it shrunk to a small fellowship about halfway through. Then this week, we had 2. So
I liked our interaction last night too, though. Pine, this was, hey, Pine Leaf's here. Oh my goodness, Pine, you don't happen to have 5 other people that want to go on a raid? No, I'll just leave. See you guys later.
Well, yeah, that was the problem. Because you had, that's right, because you had 7 there or something.
Yeah, we had 7 and you had 2,
and we had 2. We were wondering in there, but I think you were already in the middle of an instance and all that stuff, so I decided not to interrupt.
Yeah, we were right in the middle of the vermin run at that point, but
yeah.
But we still could have done it. I mean, if we'd had the numbers. So that was what was funny, because everybody was, there was that momentary excitement. It's like, all right, Pine Leaf. Okay, maybe we got a raid to. Okay, never mind.
Never mind. No, because I only had one other person, so there were only 2 of us. So yeah, you're right. That would have gave us 9 in all. So.
But it'll happen. It'll happen. Either you guys will get a full raid together, or we'll have the numbers together sometime soon, and we'll be able to do it. So.
We'll see. And we'll see what if the effects of Shanties has any effects on the near future Friday Night Fights. And anyway, I was in my Runekeeper, and we did some duos, and the first one that we did was, the trouble is remembering the names of some of these ones. It was one of the Gundabad instances, the one that's against that 2-headed troll that's in the library, and then you also had that bat in there because you're trying to rescue the dwarf Thirstruck or something like that.
Yeah, yep.
So we ran that one, and we also ran Trouble in Tuckborough and Thievery and Mischief, and one other skirmish, I believe. So we ran a few skirmishes in there, and that seemed to work pretty well. So that was it for my week in LOTRO. We currently have 13 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the nation's favorite sport, the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. If you'd like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@lotrplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have LOTRO Players News, and we record DDO Players News when DRAC is available. You guys join us for our shows at lotrplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, and this is Piney Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.